to really focus on youth mental health. We wanted to make sure that you had the tools that you need to strive and also succeed. We know that mental health provides different pressures, and we also know that there's no true health without mental health. So we applaud you for signing up. Some of you might have been voluntold to come here today, but we are glad that you are here, and we have an amazing day planned for you with some great interactive activities, all with the thought in mind of giving you additional tools in your tool belt that you can take away with you as it relates to mental health and how you work through those stressors. So we'll go ahead and get the program started. I want to introduce to you our keynote speaker for this morning. Her name is Natasha Pierre. I had an opportunity to meet Natasha probably about 5 months ago, and just to hear about her story was completely amazing. I think that you guys will definitely take some nuggets out of what she needs to share today. I'll read her bio for you. Natasha Pierre is a dynamic, results driven speaker, author, and leadership coach for over 20 years. She has experience in training and development. She has worked with corporations, nonprofit agencies, government agencies, and faith based organizations to inspire high performance, resilience, and emotional intelligence in teams and in individuals. Born and raised in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, to Trinidad and Tobago, immigrants, Natasha's journey as a communicator began early. At just 14, she hosted Graffiti Streets, a teen talk show where she interviewed celebrities, professional athletes, and government officials. Her confidence and commanding presence made her a sought-after keynote speaker, hence why she's here today. Natasha holds a BA in Mass Communications from Duquesne University and has built a diverse career spanning media, public policy, and mental health advocacy. I now bring to the stage Natasha Pierre.
Good morning. It's good to see you all. Know that if I am up early in makeup with lashes, it's only to talk about mental health and only to see you all. That's the only reason I'm getting up this early. Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you to Florida Blue. Thank you to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Thank you to the chaperones. But most importantly, thank you to all of the students for being here today. Today, I get to hang out with you and do something that I absolutely love. So let's get my PowerPoint going here. And I know Dave is around to assist me. Oh, perfect. We're back. I gave you too much. Beyond the highlight reel, I will consider today a successful presentation and a successful event if I can do two things. The first is if I can get you to recognize and understand that your imperfections, the things that you call flaws, the things that you may call ugly about yourself, and your authenticity is really what is the foundation and the fuel for your success. And the second thing is that you have everything that you need not only to achieve your dreams and to achieve success by your standards, but also to be the change that you want to see in the world. I know one of the themes today is authenticity and embracing imperfections. And so I'm going to show you and share with you some of my journey so that you know that it is possible. Does anyone recognize any of these people on the screen? Yes?
Yeah.
Influencers, YouTubers, TikTok stars.
Diddy.
Have you ever looked
Diddy's
at them
up there.
and thought, their life
No, look.
seems so perfect.
Oh,
They're
wait.
having
Oh,
fun,
wait, never
they're
mind.
making money, they're
My bad.
traveling, they have all of these friends. I mean, I think it too. I'm on social media. How many of you are on social media by a show of hands? Yes? Okay, TikTok. I'm not going to say Facebook because I heard that that's old. So it's okay.
I use
But
TikTok.
here's
I mean,
what I
I use
know
Facebook.
from my years in the entertainment industry and from working with influencers, beyond the highlight reel, there is a story. And sometimes we're so preoccupied and fixated on the glitz and the glamour, the lights, camera, action, that we're not paying attention to the pain that people are really living with. So let me take you beyond my highlight reel. As Tina said, I was born and raised on St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, a very teeny tiny island in the Caribbean where 32 square miles, my island can fit 5.5 times inside of Tampa. That's how small we are. And I was admittedly a different child. My sisters call it weird, but it's okay. I say different. I I was sick a lot because I had asthma. I had lots of allergies. And when I was in school, I realized that I wasn't learning and retaining information like some of my classmates. So I figured out a way to study so that I could get the good grades and be on honor society. Now, no laughing. I would line up my 86 stuffed animals on my bed and I would teach them. Because I realized that as I was teaching my stuffed animals, I was retaining the information and then I can do well on the test. When I was 9, there were two things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a fashion model and I wanted to be on television. So I would walk up and down the halls of my home in my mother's high heels because I was going to be a model. I didn't know how it would happen on a teeny island in St. Thomas, but I was practicing because whenever they called, I would be ready. The other thing that I did is I would record Peter Jennings on ABC Nightly News. I would record him and I would say everything that he said because being from a Caribbean island, I had a strong accent. So I wanted to make sure that when the TV stations came coming, my accent was diluted and I was ready for my close up. I would stare into an imaginary camera on the wall, stare into the mirror, talking to myself, back to my sisters calling me weird. But I was preparing for something. All of this at age 9. By age 14, I was hosting a weekly teen talk show called Graffiti Street, interviewing celebrities, athletes, elected officials. I was on TV. I was living my dream at age 14. I started modeling. I was on radio pretty often, writing for the newspaper. All of the things that I did quietly in my bedroom, that's what I was doing at age 14. I graduated from high school and went on to college. I went to school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, very cold from a tiny island. I continued modeling, and right after my college graduation, I did my first movie. You all probably were not alive when it came out. Don't call me old. But your parents may have seen the movie. It was the Temptations miniseries. It was about the life of the Temptations in Motown, and I played Martha Reeves. I still get paid from that movie in 1998 today. I continued working with celebrities, had a career in TV, radio, publicity, etc. But here's the thing. Despite all of my successes. And on the outside looking in, it seemed like I was living a fantastic life. I got free clothes and travel, makeup artists, all wonderful. But I was struggling. So let me take you again beyond my highlight reel and let's talk about crazy. I eat my breakfast cereal with warm to hot milk. That's how I eat it. I've eaten it that way all my life. And whenever someone sees me heating my milk in the microwave, I hear the same thing. Natasha, that's so crazy. In the first grade, I started writing backwards. I write backwards as well as I do forwards. My signature is backwards. And each time someone sees me writing backwards, they say the same thing. Natasha, that's so crazy. This one I know you like. I have seen every episode of Law and Order SVU at least 4 times. So technically, I'm a detective. My bad. And each time I share that fun fact, I hear the same thing. Really, Natasha? That's so crazy. But each time people called me crazy for those things, I knew I wasn't crazy. They made me special. They were unique to me. In fact, I didn't think that people would actually call me crazy until my family was unable to hear my silent scream. How could the girl voted most likely to succeed in high school, the model, the actress, the overachiever, why was she having so much trouble getting out of bed? Why was she engaging in self harm? Why was it so hard for her to keep a job? I shared some of my struggles and challenges with one of my friends, and she said, "So, let me get this right. Are you crazy or crazy crazy?" I didn't think that I could possibly be called crazy until I went to my pastor. I shared some of my pains, and he said, "Come on, Natasha, just fast and pray. Build up your faith." I disclosed at work. I wasn't just demoted, I was fired. My own psychiatrist told me, "Natasha, maybe you should file for Social Security disability because life as you know it has changed." I looked up every diagnosis and I was able to check all of the symptoms. I was struggling. Now, here's the thing, I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. I just didn't know how with all the symptoms that I had. And back then, 25 years ago, we weren't talking about mental health in the same way that we do today. I didn't know who to go to. I didn't have the resources. I had to do the digging for myself. And it wasn't until an overnight stay in a psychiatric hospital that I began to take my mental health seriously. And I've been doing so ever since. Here's the thing, what I called liking to be by myself, stay by myself, introverted, shy, was really depression. What I called nerves, test taking, nervousness, not wanting to be out in public, I was dealing with anxiety. What I called needing to work harder, study harder, because I wasn't grasping information. It was a cry for me to get support with learning. Let me reintroduce myself to you. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder from two things, hurricanes in the Virgin Islands, and then I was in New York modeling for 9/11. Panic disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and EDNOS, an eating disorder not otherwise specified. Here's the thing, all of the struggles that I had with learning, with interaction, with being around people from a child stemmed from these diagnoses. And I didn't know it until I was well into my 20s. When it comes to mental health, you have an advantage today. 25 years ago, we weren't talking about mental health. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the COVID-19 pandemic ushered in an awareness where we can talk about it at Benchmark Arena. All of these pictures, I've got tags on them, lonely, depressed, anxiety. I'm smiling in every single one of them. That's a snapshot of my day. You can look fine and still be struggling. You can be on TV, on a stage. You could be leading a workshop, taking a class, hanging out with friends, and still be dealing with depression. My message to you is that it's okay to not be okay, but don't stop there. You have access to the resources that I didn't have. And I know that the pressure is real. You've got school and family and friends and sports and a part time job and your dog and extracurricular activities and breaking news. You are the generation that was in elementary and middle school when we had to navigate a global pandemic. Life has been heavy, not just for adults. We can access resources, but for you. And that's real. Here's what I wanted people to know today and what I wanted to know as a child. I wanted to know that there was hope. I wanted to know that I would wake up and I'll feel better. I wanted to know that people cared about me beyond, all right, put on this outfit, go out there and, go on the runway. Be camera ready, get good grades. I wanted to know that people liked me just for me and cared about my pain. Struggling doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Let me tell you what is, and I so appreciate being here today because it got me to remember some of the things that I went through. When I say that I modeled and modeled professionally, I'm talking New York Fashion Week levels. I did it for 17 years, which is pretty unheard of back then. What's even more unheard of is when I tell you that I dealt with allergies as a child and had asthma. For many years of my life, I was covered in head to toe eczema. That doesn't bode well for a modeling career. But yet I was able to do it. When we're talking about striking the stigma, one of the things that I had to do was I had to strike the own stigma in my life. I had to first step out from beyond the shadows. I had to own my experiences. I had to focus on what I knew was uniquely me. I didn't have these resources when I was in high school, when I was in middle school and college. They actually took me to campus ministry in college and just said, come do mass a couple times a week. That was it. And it has value, but I needed additional resources. You are not alone. I don't care what you're dealing with today. I don't care if it's anxiety, ADHD, depression, grief, pain, separation with parents. I don't care what you're dealing with. I'm letting you know that you are not alone. There's a lot of resources here today, people that I work with, people that I respect and value, and people who continue to support me today. 988, save that number. If not for you, save it for a friend. Talk to a counselor. Speak with someone today. Pull me aside. Do whatever it is that you need to do to ensure that you get the help that you need. I struggled for 25 years because the resources weren't available. You don't have to do that today. My wellness plan today is I love walking, love being outside. Shout out to Florida for giving us the nice weather. I hang out with friends. I have a great partner that supports me. I love being on the beach. Rest, sleep is fun. Listen, when you get to my age, you enjoy sleep. But one of the best things that I do is I reset my social media algorithm as often as possible. When I was growing up, we didn't have social media. But today, I recognize that if I am an adult and I am impacted by social media, if I'm seeing things that hurt my feelings and make me feel bad about myself and make me want to go on a diet and make me question my worth and value, how much more is it affecting you? So you know what I do? If I see something that makes me question myself, I hit irrelevant, not interested. So I'm not getting more of that on my feed. In May 2022, I had my first viral TikTok. Very quickly went to 500,000 views. I'm taking you behind and beyond the highlight reel. Over 500 views, 200 likes. These numbers have since grown. And here's the truth about that video. I was crying that morning for several hours. I was angry at life, at God, at the world, at whomever else can, be lumped into that group. I was just having a rough morning, but I had tools. I wrote in my journal, I called a friend, and she said, well, put it in a video. What? I'm crying. I don't have my lashes on. I don't have makeup. I'm not ready. She's like, just do it. And she dared me to make the video. And that video was the first one that went viral. It wasn't about beauty. It wasn't about all of the things that I have and the people that I know. It was a raw, vulnerable, authentic moment that I called imperfect, but that I had celebrities around the world reaching out to me to tell me that it resonated with them. Here's what I know about social media. Likes aren't life. Sometimes going viral is annoying because your phone is constantly pinging. It's really not all it's cracked up to be. Filters don't fix pain. I don't care what filter you use. It doesn't erase the hurt that you feel. Highlight reels, they don't tell the whole story. I enjoy showing up to speak about mental health because no one is expecting me to share the story. No one is expecting to hear depression and stress and being in a hospital, a psych hospital at that. No one is expecting that to come from me. But that's my life. The real glow up is peace. The joy in life comes from doing more of what you love authentically. I stay at the beach, I hang out with great friends, and I do more of what I love. When I was 9 years old in my bedroom using a hairbrush as a microphone, I dreamed of days like this. I would create images and vision boards where I was speaking at arenas. I've lost count of how many I've spoken at thus far. I'm sharing that with you to let you know that whatever it is that you're thinking about, dreaming about, and wanting to achieve, it is possible because I've done it. And I didn't do it by pretending to be someone else. I did it by being authentically me and remaining true